get comfortable and be someplace you're not distracted. That would be so awesome. Love seeing where you're from: Indiana, Minnesota, Washington, New Jersey. That's not far from where I used to live. Love it. British Columbia, Virginia Beach, all great places. I've been to many of these places. My goal this year is to visit more national places. And then hopefully as the world opens up, get back to international travel. Well, ladies, I said that I would start on time at 2 minutes after the hour, and that's right where we're at right now. So thank you so much for being here. We do have David on running all of our technology. So if you have any issues with any tech, David is our man. So thankful for him to help coordinate this. So I am going to share my screen and we're going to get started. There we go. So ladies, if you are here, you're here for the 8 ways to thrive after divorce. That means we all have something in common here, wherever you are, from the stage of, I can't stand to be in the room with him anymore, we're thinking about it, to I'm 7 years post and I'm still not right. It doesn't matter where you are. This is for you tonight. So divorce is excruciatingly painful. All of us have experienced that. It is a roller coaster of emotions, from shock to anger to bitterness, depression, denial, fear. It's even normal to still feel in love because he may have been your best friend. So there's that mourning of all those inside jokes and things that the two of you had together. Whoops. David, I'm not sure what's happening there, why I'm not advancing, but let's see. Oh, I'm using my mouth. It may feel like you have a double life with your kids for the first time. If you're co-parenting kids under the age of, let's say, 16, you may be really easily triggered by memories, especially now just coming over the holidays, going into Valentine's Day. There's some things that are just really difficult. And then there are what I call new assaults, like you saw him on social media with a new woman, or he's taking the new girlfriend on the vacation you were supposed to be on. Things you never expected when you went to the altar, and it can feel absolutely devastating. There's this sense of loss that you have never experienced before. So here are a couple of facts about divorce. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit of a knowledge person, so I like to know some things. So the US is the 3rd highest divorce rate in the world, and that's where a majority of us are from here. The number one right now in the US is every 36 seconds, someone is given divorce. The number 1 age for divorce is 30. The number 2 age is 50. I was in that second category. And the rate of divorce increases with each marriage, which means that the second marriage and the third marriage, the incidence of divorce goes from about 50% to 60, almost 70+%. And that's because we're not becoming the best version of ourselves. We're taking our things into that next marriage. Right now, and this is new, this is a COVID statistic, women are more likely to ask for a divorce than men. It used to be 50-50 pre-COVID, but there's so many interesting things that have happened with COVID. About 78% of divorces right now are being filed by women. The average marriage is lasting, unfortunately, only 8 years. The number 1 reason given is for a lack of commitment. And women are 3 times more likely to be in poverty if they don't remarry. So I want to let you know that you are in the right place. If you're a woman going through separation, divorce, or post-divorce, you feel like this hurricane just came in and blew up your life, and it scattered all the pieces and left this gaping hole in your heart. And maybe you're feeling unloved, lonely, rejected, or that your dreams have been shattered and you don't know how or where to start putting it all back together. I'm sure that you've done things to try prior to coming here, and you might not even know who you are again. You might feel like your whole life and even how you look physically and how you feel is unrecognizable. You're not sure how you can forgive, be healthy, be whole, or think about a future where you have a trusting relationship again. You're probably exhausted from the drama and the pain, and you're ready to be intentionally fabulous. So let me know if this sounds like you. You start out with the best of intentions to be productive, only to lose motivation. You try to remember things, but the brain fog takes over. If this is you, you can put a yes in the chat. This was me. You don't feel like getting dressed up and going out to socialize. Either you have no appetite or you're overfeeding just due to stress. You're putting everything in your mouth because you're just so stressed out. You don't know what to do. We're going to do something when we're in pain. That's the divorce diet, can go either way. Maybe when you see couples, you'll wonder if you'll ever find love again. You get anxiety just thinking about your ex, especially if you're still co-parenting or dealing with payments from them. And you probably consistently worry and stress every time you think about paying bills, your kids, your health, your living situation, or your future. And the last thing on there was that it's very lonely. I have a private Facebook group, and one of the questions that I ask when they come in is, what is your number one challenge? And loneliness by far is the number one thing. So this seminar is not for you if you want to stay in pain, you're not ready to take action towards your healing, you want to be a victim, and you want to spend your time being sad, bitter, and angry. And I meet these women, and it just means they're not ready. It doesn't mean not ever. It just means that on that scale of readiness, they want to stay where they're at. And it's okay to stay there for a little while, but not forever. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Because I promise you 8 ways to thrive after divorce. So here's what you'll discover: who you truly are. We're going to get into your identity. We're going to talk about how to forgive, and it might not be what you think. We're going to talk about how to renew your mind. And then we're also going to talk about the power, and I should say superpower, of self-love and gratitude. And then the other 4 things that we're going to dive into are your purpose, because you might feel like you don't know what your purpose is anymore, especially if you were a stay-at-home mom for a long time. We're going to talk about how to live in what I call divine health. We'll talk about abundant wealth, and then how to live this joyful, resurrected, fabulous life. So I hope you're tracking with me, because we're also going to talk about what it means to lead an intentionally fabulous, fulfilling life. So 2 things, if you stay into the end, I want to let you know I've got 2 fabulous gifts for you for hanging out to the end. One is my book called Passionistas, which is people who are successful, who are sharing wisdom about what they would tell to their younger self about what they really think is important. And the other is an interview by a dear friend of mine who is one of the #1 trainers for Tony Robbins. He has the most downloads of his Goal Cast. He was divorced, he's happily remarried, and he talks about how do you reframe the past, the secrets to lasting change, giving up the victim mindset, and more. So I'll tell you how to get those at the end. So here's my promise to you. It does not matter what your past situation is. I promise you, you might feel like you're too far gone. It is just too desperate. I remember sitting in divorce recovery and hearing the stories of some of the women, and my heart would just break for them. There are terrible things that happen, but I promise you, none of it matters. You will learn what it's been holding you back for years. So even though your divorce situation may be new, these things will go deeper, and you'll see where you've been sabotaging yourself, because we all do it. And there's so much more you're healing from your marriage that you're going to get out from this training, because it's really about you. And you're going to be able to focus on other things than your breakup, because we get so internalized during this. And your only regret may be that you waited this long to learn the information. Okay, so if you're not familiar with me, I'll give you a little background. For 35 years, I've been a fitness, nutrition, wellness, and lifestyle expert and entrepreneur. I've been blessed to do so many different things over my career. I get up every day to help people be well. I've appeared on all the major networks, 3-time best-selling author. I'm an international speaker, and I never thought this would be part of my story. However, I am a certified divorce coach, and my heart is to help you be well. So I'll give you a little quick glimpse of my story. I thought I had it all together. I had been married 24 years. I had an adoring husband. I had 2 healthy children who were doing well athletically and academically. I had beautiful friends and close support network, thriving in my career, living in a beautiful home, gated community, golf course, vacations, all the things. I thought things were going well. But then there was that turning point. And for me, it was the moment where my husband came home and said, my commitment to our marriage is 0. And he left. It floored me. Even with my, at that point, 30 years of being a life coach and studying personal development, I'd lost my dad. I'd lost my best friend to cancer. I've been sued in a real estate transaction. I've been in car accident. I mean, hard things have happened. You live enough and hard things will happen. But this was the thing that took me to my knees. And so I wanted to figure it out. And I went on a 3-year, what I lovingly call a healing sabbatical, where I went on this journey to try and figure out, how do I get better? How do I find joy again? How do I pick myself back up and find my purpose? How do I make the pain stop? And that's part of the 8 things that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight are the most important, really shifting things that I learned on that healing journey. And I did get to a place where I was thriving again. And that's where I really felt called to help other women. At the time that I got divorced, I had 12 personal friends all getting divorced at the same time, 8 of them from my neighborhood of 110 homes. And I wanted them all to do something healthy and thrive. So from that pain comes purpose. This picture was actually taken the day that my husband was moving out. So I just want to, connect with you and let you know that I know what it feels like to be sobbing into your pillow for nights on end, feeling rejected. I know what it feels like to literally grind your teeth down in a 6-month visit between cleanings until they were fractured. To see messages from women on your husband's phone that say, thanks for tonight, hun, with a kiss emoji, or you have 14 new matches on match.com. I know how that pierces and tears your soul. You feel like you've ruined your kids' lives. You might not want to leave the house because you just want to isolate. You feel like you have no purpose. You're wasting your life. I was the provider for the most part in my family. So I wondered, how would I support myself and 2 kids in college? The empty nester dreams that I was planning, that I thought I was planning, went right out the window. Moving from the dream home that you thought your kids would graduate high school from, really being the punching bag for my kids' anger. I didn't understand any of this before divorce. None of this made sense to me. But as I started to learn and get the knowledge, the understanding really helped me to heal and cope with it. And to be the only uncoupled person at a party. I remember showing up and all my friends were couples and just how that felt. And to find your ex got married on social media just a few months after your divorce, to feel devastated, embarrassed, to watch your business that you built dwindle down to nothing because you couldn't focus, and just to feel so alone. So whatever your story is, ladies, I know all of ours is a little bit different, but I know what those feelings are. So here's just a few of the things that I did on my journey, obsessed to get well. I made vision boards. I had vision board parties. I mentored a young girl. I did all these exercises. I sat in nature. I walked around lakes. I read the books. I went on girls' trips and retreats and dedicated to cooking healthy. I literally walked around my house with a crown on just to make myself feel good. I hired mentors, so many mentors. I literally would wear t-shirts every day to encourage myself. Empowered women, empower women, warrior, focused, I can, I will. And I took all the profiles, the strengths finders, the omni profiles, the cognifo, just trying to discover who I was. So here's the good news. You don't have to do what I did. You don't have to waste your time and your money being frustrated or doing things that don't work, because I have whittled it down to a science for you. And if I can do it, you can do it. So are you ready to stop replaying the sad story in your head, to stop believing the pain will last forever? I promise it doesn't, if you decide to stop thinking the pain will magically stop with time. People who say time heals all, that is not true. Time will heal some, but it will not heal all unless you do something about it. And to stop being a perfectionist, enabler, controller, bitter. I was all of those things. Your things might look a little different. And to realize that I promise you, you have everything on the inside that you need to heal and be well. So here we go, ladies. Take a nice deep breath in and get ready to receive the 8 ways to thrive after divorce. If you're ready, you can throw a yes in the chat. So the first thing is, who am I? Our identity. This may be something that you asked yourself because you were unrecognized. Well, let me tell you who you're not. You're not your past. You're not a label as divorcee. You're not your problems. You're not unworthy. You're not unlovable. And you are definitely not a failure. So please don't receive any of those things. What forms our identity? Well, everything on the outside does. Our experiences, our relationship, our culture, the media, beliefs, thinking, our external environment. I mean, think about if you were born in Iran versus New York, or India versus Poland. I mean, a lot of who you think you are has to do with where you were born, if you were Catholic or Jewish, or if you went to private school or homeschooled. All of that forms who we are. So what happens to our identity when we rely on the outside world and we experience loss? Well, look at what's going on in the world now. There's struggle and hurt. So we're identifying with depression, suffering, pain, anger, sadness, shock, and loneliness. So that's what happens when we get our identity from the outside. But what if we can do it a little bit differently? What if you could imagine? And I love that word imagine, because sometimes it's been so long since we imagined and really used our imagination. If you could peel back the identity that the world has given you and get your identity from within, these are the two most powerful words on the planet. I am. Everything you say after I am, you're giving life to. So are you looking in the mirror saying, I am powerful, I am strong, I am healthy, I am worthy, I am lovable, I am attractive, I am abundant? Or are you saying, I'm old, I'm tired, I'm overweight, I'm overwhelmed, I'm in chaos, I'm depressed, I'm poor? What you say after I am has life. So it starts with a belief. You start to believe you are. That belief then becomes a thought. You start to think it. And then when you speak it into the world, you activate it. That action, when repeated, now becomes a habit. 95% of what we do after the age of 35 is habitual. That habit then becomes your character, and that character becomes your identity. So what if after the words I am, you start saying powerful things to yourself? And actually, God calls himself the great I am. I know we may have a mix of beliefs here, but I hope you can just track with me and know that God, who created you and created the world, sees you as whole, healed, complete, worthy, loved, and lovable. And if you can receive and believe that, there's so much power, and that alone should give you hope. If you really want to know who you are, think differently about yourself by connecting to God. And if you've never done this before, a simple way that I help people do this is imagine you're in heaven, whatever you imagine that would look like, and being able to just sit there and ask questions about, how do you see me? Any question you want to ask, and just be open your heart to the answers that you might get, because it's the first step to freedom and healing. So how do you find yourself again? I want to give you practical steps here too. So one is, give yourself permission. I don't know about you, but I had to come home after doing an assessment where a psychologist said, Kelli, you're really healthy, but you're depressed. I had to give myself permission to come home and feel that. And I remember being on the couch for days and just really grieving those disappointments. And then after about 10 days, I got up. And it doesn't mean I won't be sad or depressed again, but I gave myself permission to go through it and not get stuck and stop there. You need to maturely deal with your emotions. I know there were times where I was being a brat. I was being a victim, and I wasn't dealing with it maturely. So when you are ready, that you can really hold that mirror up and be honest with yourself and look at this from a mature place to accept who you are. And ladies, I hope you can receive this, because this is such a beautiful thing. There is one of you. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. There's no one else like you in the whole world. You were not an accident. And do you know someone who really loves themselves and accepts themselves? I remember when my kids were growing up, there was always one mom, and all the kids loved to be at her house. And I try to figure out, like, what is it about her? And I realized she just loved herself and she loved these kids unconditionally. And this takes effort, it takes work, but really accept you for everything that you are. What did you stop doing that you liked? So maybe it was something you did before you were married, or maybe it was before your marriage really started fading, but something in you that maybe has faded. And what can you start doing that you've always wanted to do? And identity isn't just about doing, it's also about being. So discover something new about yourself that maybe has nothing to do with doing, and just accept that imperfect self, because you're not an accident. And this is the beginning, ladies. All that we have is today. That is all we are guaranteed. If we're spending our time thinking about the past, we're living in complete regret. And if we're spending our time thinking about the future, we're living in fear and worry. So get present, breathe. This is your new beginning. So with giving yourself permission to grieve, again, I like to give you practical things. This is called the grief cycle. I don't know if you have seen this before, but I did not. I went on a 4-day retreat, and the leader introduced us to this, and it was powerful because at the time I was depressed, and she said, "Kelli, that is good news." I was like, "What do you mean it's good news?" And she said, "Look, depression is on the upswing. You've already got through anger and fear and denial and all these other things already. And I promise you, it's not this beautiful curve, and it's not this linear path. It is messy. You get triggered and you go back. But depression was on the upswing. And when I saw this, it just somehow helped me. Keep in mind that while you're trying to process all this change, because so many things could be changing at once, we're also trying to protect ourselves. So we're coming from a place where we're just trying to survive, and we're just trying to look at all the things that are changing and guard our hearts at the same time. It looks different for everyone. I've worked with so many women now, hundreds, and everyone is going to look a little bit different, and it's okay. This grief cycle can be overwhelming. They call divorce a life event for a reason, because you could be moving, your finances could be changing, your job, your church, your friends, your kids' schools. It can be overwhelming. You're dealing with attorneys, you're making a lot of decisions, it's emotional. You're probably seeing the worst side of your spouse that maybe you've never seen before. And it takes its toll physically, emotionally, and mentally. And at any stage, we can be fighting or avoiding reality because our brains are in survival mode. We're at this very primitive brain place when we're in such chaos and shock. So how do we get out of the grief? Well, one is to become mindful. And that goes back to really being present with yourself, breathing, getting mindful about where you are. Take a little inventory. Reorient means to think differently. So everything I've thought so far has gotten me where I am. If I want to get out of this, then I need to do something different. Judgment. Oh my goodness, we could spend a lot of time talking about that. Don't judge yourself. People who are critical of others or bullying of others, it's because they're the most self-critical. We're going to do a deeper dive on that. But not judging yourself is going to help to get you out of grief. Become curious, just become childlike, start to open up the imagination to new things and new possibilities. And then really reflect. So take some time and just catch yourself going, all right, what is working? What is not working? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? What do I need to stop doing? I love that to don't list. It's one of the first things that I at times will work with clients is, what do we need to stop? Because we can't add new things until we stop or cut out old things. So those will give you some practical things. And we're going to move along and get into the second step, which is forgiveness. And some people hear this and they go, "Kelli, if you heard my story, you would never be telling me to forgive." I am not taking anyone's story or pain away from them. Horrible, horrific things happen. especially behind closed doors in marriages that only you know about. And that's not what forgiveness is. So I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm going to tell you what it isn't. But what I will tell you is everything in the past cannot be changed. There is absolutely not a single thing that we can do about anything that has happened. And it is foolish to punish ourselves or anyone else over it. Unforgiveness is just adding more pain and addiction to your divorce story, telling it over and over and holding on to it. You've probably heard that it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die if we're not forgiving them. It carries resentment, criticism, guilt, fear, and blaming if you're not forgiving. But it's the beginning of the healing process. I wish I could say this was the first thing I did. I forgave. But being honest, this was number 8 for me. I'm giving it to you as number 2 because it's that important. Right after knowing who you are and whose you are is forgiving. It is the beginning of healing. And I will tell you that it isn't as much about forgiving your former husband or anyone else as it is forgiving yourself. It's impossible to heal when you're bound to the past. I personally felt like a failure. And that's what one of the things I wasn't forgiving myself for. This was not supposed to happen to me. The person who's the hardest to forgive is the one you can learn the most from. And again, that might be yourself. So forgiveness, there's 5 myths about forgiveness. So I want to cover these for you. You do not have to beg, bargain, or bribe anyone for forgiveness. That's not what this is about. You don't have to ask repeatedly, please forgive me, please. No, it's a one-time ask. This is not something you keep going back. You don't have to wait for the other person to say, I forgive you, please forgive me, I apologize. This is not about them and you. I'm going to tell you what it is in a moment, but you don't have to forget when you forgive. That's important. For example, if someone steps on your foot, you forgive them, but you're still limping. It still hurts. You still feel it, even though you say, I'm sorry. Doesn't mean you forget. And it's a myth that forgiveness is a process. It can actually happen in a moment. Now, it may go deeper and you might have to revisit it as triggers and things come along, but forgiveness can happen in a moment. So let's look at the 7 steps for forgiveness. The first thing is you thank God, because that's where forgiveness comes from. The forgiveness is between you and God. That's why he sent his son to come and die for us so that all sins would be forgiven. And so it starts with that place of gratitude. And then while you're having that heaven time, you might even ask it like, God, who do I need to forgive and for what? And again, you might find out that a lot of it comes down to even yourself, forgiving yourself. Think differently. And that's what repent is. It just means, okay, I don't want to, continue to think the same way. I need to think differently about this. Forgive each offense, forgive yourself. And then I love that dove. I just imagine it being released, being just totally let go and release it. You will palpably feel a difference in your body. Negative energy will leave your body when you're able to forgive. Then, this is interesting. I don't know if everyone knows this, but you seal it with a blessing. So one of the highest forms of forgiveness is actually to bless the person in the area that they hurt you. So for example, I can say with 100% certainty that I do not hold any bitterness against my former husband and especially his new wife. I wish them nothing but the best till death do they part. I have no animosity against him. I don't want to sit across the table and have dinner with him necessarily, but I can say that I bless him. Committing to not remembering the offense. So again, you're not replaying it over and over and over. And the highest possible is to live what I call a lifestyle of pre-forgiveness. And that's where you go out and you just live in a place that you're not easily offended from. So that's where if someone cuts you off, it's not ruining your whole day. If someone calls at work and yells at you, you have no idea what's going on in their life and you just receive it. If you hurt someone, you are quick to apologize for it. But I will tell you, ladies, your peace is too expensive. It is not worth giving up. So again, want to give you practical things. I'm not sure my clicker's working there. Okay, here we go. Some practical things. Okay, so we're moving into renewing your mind. And this is about getting present and imagining a fabulous future. So, I don't know why this, try this. No, it doesn't. Okay, there we go. We can't solve our problems with the same level of certainty that created them. That was from Albert Einstein. This is from Trevor Moawad, who's an incredible mind-body coach. He recently passed away. But a negative thought is 4 to 7 times more likely to happen. So as you're saying, I'm tired, I'm in chaos, I'm exhausted, much more likely to happen if you say it out loud. Speaking a negative thought, there's a 10-time multiplier. So thinking it is 4 to 7, saying it multiplies it by 10. So I wanted to show you this visual. This is actually from David Hawkins' book, Power and Force. We are energy. Everything that's alive is energy. So birds, plants, everything. The very lowest level of energy is a victim. That's where you feel like there's absolutely nothing I can do. The world is happening to me and I have no control, and I'm at the very bottom of existence. And then you can see some of those things in that lower place: powerlessness, guilt, hatred, jealousy, insecurity, anger. I mean, just all those ugly, dark things. And you can feel it when someone walks in the room. You're like, ooh, I can feel that bitterness. I can feel that anger, because the energy, it carries power. And then at the top of the energy, the highest levels, is that love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, empowerment, passion. All of that is the very highest level that you could possibly live on. Now, in this chart, he uses that word boredom in the middle. I actually like to use the word indifferent, because when you're indifferent, you just feel like it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter if I go to work. It doesn't matter if I go to the gym. Doesn't matter if I try. No, there's just this indifference that's in the middle where people just get bored and they feel like it doesn't matter. But the thing that changes the tipping point from that low level of energy to the high level of energy, I don't know if you have any guesses. If you do, put it in the chat, but I'm going to tell you, it is courage. It is resilience. It is the ability to get knocked down 10 times and get up 11. And it can feel like that kind of an assault with divorce. I mean, it just could be like every day, it's just like slam, slam, slam everywhere you turn. And so you need that courage to get back up. So how do you build the resilience? One is look at the things you can control. And ladies, you might be surprised, but there aren't that many things that are within our control. If you were like me and you were a control freak, I'm a recovered control freak, there's not a lot we can control. You can't control your adult kids, your former spouse, much of what's happening, but you can control your thoughts, your feeling, your actions. No one's putting, cheesecake and wine in your mouth, just you. You have control over those things. So focus on that. Competence, that means you're building a new skill. Again, everything you have is based on the skills and thinking that you have now. So learning something new, getting knowledge can build your resilience. Confidence, that means you've done something a few times, you've had some success, and now you can do it repeatedly. Connection is huge, whether you're connecting again to your faith, that power, connecting to wise people who can give you wisdom, who are maybe ahead of you in your journey, where you want to go. Character is what you're building. And when you know your character, when you know your core values, it just makes things so much different. For example, I'm not someone who goes through a drive-through. That's just not me. That's not my character. I don't need a muscle to make that decision. It's who you become. And then coping is, what am I going to do to handle this in the most excellent way possible? And those are the things that build resilience. And finally, contribution, because ladies, everything is a flow. This whole thing is about giving and receiving. You can't be a giver, and then you're empty. You need to turn on that receiver. So ladies, I'll just take a little pulse here, see how you're doing. Maybe put a word or something in the chat if you're something that you learned or you're excited about, or maybe something that hit your head or your heart. I'd love to hear that. Okay, and I want to give you a practical exercise. So it's called Lego. I'm sure there's some sophisticated, maybe psychology term for this, but two guys, Kyle and Diego, were the ones that I learned it from. They call it Lego. It is the act of envisioning the future as if it's already happened out loud in writing or in your head. So here's an example. Let's say today is January 18th, 2023. So it's a year from now. And if we were having a conversation, I would be telling you about my year as if it's already happened. So I might say something like, oh my goodness, I finally bought that dream house on the lake. I love it. It is my peace pad. I did it all in neutral colors and I have pops of turquoise, and my friends came over and, we had a celebration to bless the house, and my kids come and visit me on the holidays. And anyway, you get the idea. If you start doing this every day for 5 minutes, whether you do it alone in the mirror, you can get an accountability partner and do this with a girlfriend. But it's like visualizing it, it adds validation. Your brain starts to think that it's already been realized, and it may seem silly, but it's powerful. And especially if you're sitting in a place where it just feels dark and you're not having hope, turn on that imagination, start to talk, write, think about the next year as if you were reflecting back on what happened in the past. I promise you, it's powerful. So we just want to share a little testimonial. Kim was actually a fitness client of mine years ago when her husband then came home, totally shocked and surprised that he had been having affairs for years. It was very deep, very dark. And I walked her through this spirit, mind, body approach. And I have to say now she is intentionally fabulous, fitter than ever, remarried, just has a great, great man who loves and adores her. And she says she's never been happier, which I love. And this actually came in from my sweet, very first international client, Kara. She is a sister in Christ with me in the UK. And she just sent this to me about a month ago, that Brene Brown, Tony Robbins, and I were the trio that God used to lift her up and help her see clearer. And she knows that she is worth more. So Kara, thank you for being here to support again today. Love that. So, okay, next, number 4, love yourself, self-love and gratitude. Okay, we all, everyone who lives and breathes, every human, this is a desire and a basic need for everyone, is to be unconditionally loved. We all want to be seen and heard and loved for exactly who we are. And I will tell you that your spouse couldn't do it, that 10 people couldn't do it, that all the people on the planet couldn't fill every need that you have to be seen and unconditionally loved. That really does come from a higher place. And it also comes from within. Self-rejection, just let that fall on you for a minute, because we're all guilty of this. We've all done it at different times, is the greatest form of rejecting yourself. And that's the one thing we can control. If you were left by yourself, you likely have deep feelings of rejection if your spouse left you. If you were the ones who left, you likely more feel guilt for breaking up your family. So if you were left, you'll feel rejected. If you were the one to leave, you may feel guilt. Most addiction comes from a place of self-hatred. The more you love yourself, the less critical you will be of yourself and others. So again, people who are really critical, judging everyone else, it's because they're the most critical of themselves. So how do you open up and become whole and receiving? Until we love ourselves, it's going to be challenging to change. Because if you're using that self-talk and judging yourself, I'm not enough, I'll always be poor, it's going to be difficult. So starting by loving yourself is a great and important step. When we love ourselves, change can happen miraculously when you start to pour good things into yourself. That could mean music, that could mean a TED Talk, it could be a book, it could be time with wise friends, listening to a sermon. Taking care of yourself is not just spa time, although that is good to love yourself, but it's all of the input. Don't be too impressed, depressed, or obsessed with yourself. Because again, when we're going through divorce, we're so turned into our problems and we think everyone else is. I promise you, everyone else isn't watching. And if they are, that's on them. Okay, so gratitude is another superpower. There's science behind gratitude. It improves everything. You will sleep better. You'll be happier. You'll have more friends. You'll be more optimistic. You'll be more generous. There's science to prove this. And if you're someone who constantly expresses gratitude, that is awesome. You already know this. And if you know someone, you'll see that they just seem to have this happiness and bounce in their step. So what are some practical things that you can do? It was over a year ago that I decided that I was not going to go to bed until I filled a page in my journal. It's not a little journal, it's a big journal with gratitude. And at first it started really mechanical. Like I took my vitamins, I walked the dog, I'm thankful, I have vitamins, I have a dog. It started there, but in a short amount of time, I was like, oh my goodness, I get to cook this healthy meal today. I get to talk to this friend. I get to do this seminar today. How many people get to do this seminar? I mean, that's amazing. I still get to talk to my mom. There's a lot of people that don't have a mom. My kids are connected to me. I mean, the whole thing, the day just started to change because I would go about my day looking for things to be grateful for. And it just shifted the energy. Thank you cards. When you receive one, it feels good. Maybe get in the habit of writing a card a day. Words, let people know people are starving. And you might feel like you're at the bottom and you don't have something to give, then that's okay. You receive, but when you can, give those words to other people, make someone feel seen. Okay, we should be on number 5. So your purpose. I don't know how you're feeling right now about your life's purpose, but there's good news. This is the beginning. It can start now. There is a fabulous plan on your life, plans to prosper you, to not harm you, to give you a hope, to give you a future. It does take work to discover it. So this is not magical. You do need to do a little deep dive and really listen to that inner voice, that knowing inside you. You might go all the way back to your childhood days to figure out, what did I really love? What gave me life? What were the things that when I did them, I didn't even know that hours would pass by? It's time to get gritty. This is not just magical, but you really may need some quiet time to sit with yourself if you don't know what this is. And I do whole workshops on this, but I want to give you a few things that you can take with you now. And one is to start dreaming again. You don't want to run a race that you don't want to win, meaning living that life of regret where, you had your ladder on the wrong house, on the wrong job, in the wrong relationship. So figuring out what you want and what you don't want. What are you capable of? I mean, you really have to ask yourself some good open-ended questions. If time and money weren't an object, what would I do? If I won the lottery, what would I do? If I was going to live 6 months, what would I do? These are some of the questions to really get yourself to think differently. I have friends with terminal cancer who I talk to every day, and I'm learning so much from their journey. What is the dream in your heart if you could do what you wanted? I mean, we see people make career changes in their 50s, 60s, and 70s and beyond. People go back to school in their 70s. What legacy do you want to leave? So do you want to be a difference maker? What does that look like? And then start taking action towards it every single day. None of this happens by magic. You have a part to do in making it happen. So we're going to dive into some divine health. This is my jam. 35 years I've spent in fitness and nutrition. I love this. I'm all about you walking in health. And what I know is that, wow, divorce can be so rough on your health, your physical, your mental, your emotional. It's not just your relational health, but it's your health in every single way. And so divine health is really a combination of fitness, which means get your body moving. I don't know where you are, but if you can walk, get out and walk. Walk for 5 minutes, then walk for 10 minutes, then keep adding some time. Go walk around a lake, take your shoes off and walk in the grass, walk in the sand. Get your body alive. Your physiology has so much to do with your health. If you can just stretch, take a yoga class, there's so many things you can do. The gyms have never been cleaner or emptier than right now. So I don't know where you might be, maybe even making some excuses about fitness, but I started out in fitness. And what I found was if I can get someone to move their body, it affected their mind and then it affected their spirit. It is contagious. If you can just start with fitness, it has a ripple effect. So choose something and do it continuously. I don't know why this, sorry guys, my clicker's not cooperating. There we go. The next thing is food. You need to nourish your body. Let every morsel that passes your lips give you life. So if you're putting things in your body that are taking away from your body, taking enzymes to digest that aren't giving you vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients and energy, then start to cut that out and replace it. If I had to give it to you in a word, it would be Mediterranean, that Mediterranean diet that has those beautiful vegetables and all those berries filled with phytonutrients and antioxidants, those lean proteins and healthy fats and those good grains. If I could just had to give you a little snapshot of nourishing your body, that's always a great place to start. Your faith. What I would say to you is I know that fitness and eating right can be a challenge. Partner with God on this. Let him know where you've been struggling. He won't be surprised. And to do it in your flesh and to do it in willpower is a challenge. Most people on average have been on 13 different diets. It's not the first time that you've tried and not finished well. So really, I invite you to bring God into that. And fasting is a tool that's so powerful. It's actually biblical. It's a body, mind, spirit experience. And it might be skipping one meal and using that time to feed your mind and your soul with something good. So you're shortening your feeding window and you're increasing your fasting window. One of the ways, there's so many ways you can do it, is called intermittent fasting. And when you do that, you will improve your health dramatically. You will sleep better. You'll regulate your hormones. There's something called autophagy, which is getting rid of the dead old cells. So those are a couple things to consider. And then for some practical things for your health, number one is you have to believe. If you believe it's possible for you to be healthy right now, I'm telling you, you can be in the best shape of your life. There are great things to being single. One of them is you get to be in the best health and shape of your life, and your body and your mind and your soul is so amazing that it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what condition you're starting from, but you have to believe it. If you don't believe it, then it's not going to happen. Then you need to decide, and decide in Latin means to cut off any other possibility. So you're drawing that line in the sand. You're saying, okay, I am committed to my health. Divorce can take years off your life. I mean, if you see someone maybe before your season who went through a divorce and it just aged them, I promise you, you can get that back. We can reverse aging for you. You need to commit to it, which means you need to show up, you need to execute, you need to be consistent with it in order for results to happen. But it's guaranteed. Your body is so amazing. If you start doing positive things, it is guaranteed. And of course, it helps to have an accountability partner, whether it's an app or a person, or if you need to go out and hire a trainer, then do that. And so, ladies, we're on number 7. I would love, again, anything you're putting in the chat, I will catch up with at the end. Any revelations you're having, please put them in there. So abundant wealth. Wealth is talked about more in the Bible than any other subject, so it must be pretty important. Again, everything that you have believed and thought and acted on has gotten you the wealth that you have now. And with divorce, things get divided and things can go in half or less, and you can find yourself in a challenging situation. The number one group for poverty in the United States is single moms. And so if we can banish that poverty mindset to get you out from that victim place of thinking, I'll never have money, I'll never get ahead, I'll always need to work 2 jobs, I'm not going to be able to get out of debt, I can't pay my bill. We need to change the thinking. It is possible. There are so many stories out there of especially single women who have overcome poverty. So if you're thinking that you're always going to be renting and living under minimal conditions, that is not true. It starts with your thinking, though. So mastering money is also a spirit, mind, body endeavor. Using all three, people who are fit actually earn more money. So it shows you how all of these things are connected. And then abundance is more than just money. I know we think of it as money, but let's look at all the things that I'm talking about, a whole life approach to abundance. So that means in your family, your finances, romance and intimacy, even if that's a 1 right now and that's not a 10, that's okay. Your health, your social, personal, environmental, all of that. So if you were to just to look at that graphic for a moment and imagine the center being your 0 and all the way on the outside of that spoke being a 10, kind of take a snapshot of where you find yourself in those areas. And maybe you're a 10 in some, maybe you're in a beautiful home and it's paid for and you love it and it's comfortable and, and it's clean and it's peace filled and that's awesome. But maybe you're not having any fun or, maybe your finances are concerning right now. Maybe there are 2, but your health is great. So my goal is to get you to the best possible in all of these situations. And sometimes we are thrown into a deep area in one of these because we're meant to grow there. So right now, we're meant to grow in that area of it. It's called romance and intimacy there. I would call it, relationships, because we're to take this and learn from it so that we don't repeat this again and we become the best version of ourselves. So we're deep in that one area right now. So hopefully you have strengths in some areas. And if you're feeling low in all the areas, I'm so thankful that you're on this call and that we have the opportunity to do this training. Let's see. Let's do that. Okay, so abundant wealth. Ladies, I won't say that you can't build wealth by trading time for money. I will say it is really, really difficult, slow, and painful, meaning that if you work a job, even if you're a doctor or an attorney, accountant, architect, earning high wealth per hour, you're still trading time for money. And even doctors will invest in real estate and other things. So if you are trading time for money, there's nothing wrong with that. That's where you are now. But I want to give you some tools to start to build wealth. I would suggest you get a financial advisor, or at least find a great one that you can listen to their trainings, their books, their podcasts. Because unless you are one and have knowledge in this area, you might not be able to see things. You might make some wrong decisions, go in the wrong direction, or think it's hopeless. It is not. I promise you, it's not. Keep a budget. That might be a dirty word for some people, but it is important. If you want to get ahead, you need to have a budget, paying yourself first. And by this, I mean, a lot of times we'll wait and pay ourselves last when the month is over and now all the money is gone and there's nothing ever left to invest. So if you put aside 10%, 5%, 12%, wherever you can start, and then keep increasing to use that money for savings and investing. Living on less than you earn, this is just good wisdom and advice. We know people can get upside down. They can build debt. This may be the first time for women that they are doing the budget. If your husband did it, or if your income just got cut, it's a great idea. And ladies, I promise you, it feels good. It really, really feels good when you get a handle on this. Pay down your debt. Start with your smallest debt and work your way up to your biggest debt. Save. You might think there's nothing left I can't save. Start with $1. Start somewhere. And I promise you that it will build. And think about both short and long-term investing and use that Lego exercise. You might have no money in the bank, negative money in the bank, but start to speak as if this year has already happened and you have these things already. And then number 8, we're here, celebration, resurrection. I came up with this: living imperfectly with great delight. Like, is it possible for me to live with joy? This was a hard one for me. I wasn't joyful. I wasn't happy because I was a perfectionist, and perfectionists are really hard to live with. And I had to give that up. But just, can I live imperfectly with great delight and celebrate each day, celebrate the life that I have, looking for miracles? So again, going throughout your day, they're happening all around us all the time. Are we seeing them? Are we looking for them? Do we celebrate, and are we celebrated? And sometimes you have to make your own party. Maybe no one's going to throw you a party, but you might have to make your own party. And whether it's a party of one, then you show up. In my Facebook group, one lady, she was at a restaurant by herself, and she had her margarita and she had her chips and she was smiling, and the waiter took a picture of her and she was just so happy. And maybe that's where you have to start, with a party of one. You don't know who you're going to meet at that Mexican restaurant, but plan for it. If you don't plan for it, it's not going to happen. You may have to plan your own birthday party, but create a success mindset. So start to believe these things are possible and work towards them. And if you're not celebrating, you will burn out. You'll just go from thing to thing to thing to thing. You'll never recognize your accomplishments. You're robbing yourself of feeling good and including other people in the things that you're celebrating. So create a habit of celebrating life. It's bringing you closer to your dreams when you do that. Happy endorphins. You get these when you exercise. You also get these when you celebrate. So go for those happy endorphins. And then what I call resurrection, which is getting back up again. When you feel dead, when you think your life is dead, like I'm just dried up, dried out, especially if you're in that 50 age group and you're going through menopause, that's a whole nother conversation where you really do feel like my body is drying up. You can resurrect, you can come back to life, and it can be better than you ever thought or imagined. So what are some practical things? Be authentically you. My goodness, there's one of you. You are amazing. Just go out and be yourself. Dance in the rain. Be resilient. Get up again. Life is hard. In the world, there's going to be trouble. There's going to be struggle, but we can overcome that. We can get back up again. One of my latest best-selling books is called Success Habits of Superachievers, and it tells the story of 80 people, ordinary people, just like you and I, that something unreasonably difficult happened to, that they got back up again, and they didn't just get back up, but they did something great with it. Let go, just release it. Don't hold on to it. Let go of the bitterness, let go of the past, let go of the pain, and just have compassion. Give yourself grace and do what brings you joy. Give yourself permission to do what brings you joy. This is kind of my barometer. I don't want to do it anymore unless it's fabulous. Like, I don't want to do the ordinary mundane things. Of course, there's things we have to do, but even buying clothes, I'm like, I don't just want a white t-shirt. I want something fabulous, or I don't even want to buy it. I want to do things that are fabulous. That's my barometer. So ladies, I'm not sure why you showed up today. Maybe you are frustrated that you're stuck, depressed, hurt, treated unfairly, dreams shattered. Maybe you've really been paralyzed by the fear of the future. It is real. It's not in your mind. It is real. Maybe you feel like there's no happy endings after divorce. One of my dear friends' dads passed away just yesterday. Him and his mom, they were divorced for 30 years. And he said, my mom has been miserable for 30 years. She never got over it. Don't waste your time, ladies. We only get today. Maybe you desperately want to not only be healed, but fabulous, or maybe you were waiting for me to lay all these steps out for you so that I can walk you through and get you to fabulous faster. Intentionally fabulous, it will transform your spirit, mind, and body. If you've been here up to this point, you have what it takes to excel, not only healing from your divorce, but really becoming the very best version of you, even greater than you can ask, think, or imagine. And this is something you can get started with right now. Here's what I do know. It takes action for transformation to happen. You have a part to do in it. You can have the best friends. You can have the best intentions. You can have the best things written down. You can dream the best. You could even do that Lego exercise. But unless you do something and take action, things are going to stay the same. And that's why I put together this program and special offer for you. So I want to introduce to you Intentionally Fabulous Single Redefined. And it's these 8 modules that I just scratched the surface on that we really do a deep dive with. And it comes with an entire healing guide. It comes with interviews from 21 of the people on my 3-year sabbatical and journey that I handpicked to interview for you. And it's for the lifetime of the program. So from the very first week, you're going to feel relief from the emotional pain and begin that inner healing. You're going to wake up confident, forgiving and releasing the past, finding your purpose, all the things I talked about, really being able to start to love yourself, live in health, and celebrate that bonus life that you get to create. So here's your takeaways. I've literally whittled it down to these 8 things that I took 3 years to figure out, that I wish that I knew. This is what I wish someone had given me that didn't exist. You can become a higher version of yourself. It is not too late. You're only just beginning. You can be fully present, enjoy your life, wake up every day feeling like the best is yet to come. So the questions are, how long have you been in pain? And how much longer do you want to stay there? You have a choice. You can do this, the slow, painful way through trial and error by taking some of what I've given you here today. There's still a good chance you're going to get stuck and you're going to get stopped in this grief cycle. Or you can join me for this intentionally fabulous journey to become a renewed, single, redefined version of yourself with a bonus life that you get to create. So what will your investment be? Well, you could hire a divorce coach, a life coach, a health coach, a nutritionist, a breath expert, a mental health coach, a grief counselor, memory coach, and more. But that would cost you a lot of time to find the good ones, and also tens of thousands of dollars. And ladies, there's also a cost to not being well. So what is the cost to isolating? Maybe turning to a bottle of wine every night. Maybe you're escaping, just not facing any of this. Maybe you're playing small, feeling rejected, living below your potential. Maybe you're dating before you're ready, and that could be so detrimental, not being your best for your kids, living in fear, staying depressed. There is a cost to that. So ladies, the program, whoops, let me go back. I don't know if I can go back. Yep, there we go. Is valued at over $4,000. Now, I decided this 45 days ago that I wanted to do this seminar on this night, and I prayed that all the right people would be here. I'm doing a New Year's special, and it's $997, and you can register now at intentionallyfabulous.com/yes. And I'll just give you a sampling of these bonuses. So here's what you'll learn. You're going to learn how to breathe to lower your nervous system and release pain and lower stress. You're going to learn how to get your brain memory back, how to shift your energy from negative to positive. There are loving meditations on here. There's the nutrition training. You'll learn how to overcome loneliness, how to help your children adapt and not be a statistic of divorce, how to figure out what's great about your situation. You'll also learn how to negotiate. So whether you're still in the place where you're dealing with attorneys, or even if you have to buy a car, this is good training. How to deal with the depths of grief. If sexual trauma was an issue for you, we've got that covered. Why men lie and how to get them to tell the truth, building resilience, being single on purpose, how to get to the core of your heart. For those of you who are considering or already dating or getting re-engaged, Lisa covers that for you. How to stop the pain. If you had infidelity, my divorce coach, Beth Shuey, is awesome. She covers that for you. So ladies, out of your comfort zone, that's where the transformation happens. It doesn't happen where you are. It's you have to take a step if you want to get better. And I want to invite you to do that. I'm giving 100% money back guarantee for the first 30 days. And this is not something new. I've been in business for 35 years, and I've done this with everything that I have ever done, and no one has taken me up on it. But it's there for your security. This is a client, Nicole, 7 years post-divorce. She was stuck. This wasn't a season. This was a cycle. And she was just in such anxiety. And she kept dating the same guy, just with a different face. She kept attracting the same guy. And finally, she's at peace and attracted a healthy relationship. And this is Joanne, who's been a client of mine in her mid-50s. Her husband left and she was devastated and really lost hope. And through this program, it gave her hope and energy and courage to start living again. And she is doing beautifully. Her birthday was yesterday and she is really thriving. And ladies, I wanted to throw this in here for you too. This is a fast acting bonus. So Linda is my 30-year friend. She might be one of the only ones with more fitness nutrition certifications than me. She is gifting this to anyone who orders in the next 60 minutes. So if you truly want to reverse the clock on your aging, it's a 30-day healthy, nourishing, detox, anti-inflammatory, metabolism boosting plan. She gives you the shopping list, the recipes, and more. So intentionallyfabulous.com/yes in the next 60 minutes from when we end this, and you will get that. So ladies, every successful person has a coach. Trying to do this alone, it's like taking a baby aspirin when you have cancer. It really is crazy to try and do this by yourself. I couldn't have done it. I don't know where I would be. So if it's time for you to stop making excuses, time for you to put the past in the past and be fabulous, I'm inviting you to register right now. So if you're ready to stop your struggle and join me to become intentionally fabulous, you can go there. I'm going to do a live class. I knew I had a lot to share to teach you tonight, and I wanted you to receive it. But I'm going to do a live Q&A on Monday night just to set you up for success for anyone who is getting started, who is on this seminar. So I am going to look at the chat and answer some of the questions, but I would like you to really take this and think about it and consider it and let it fall on you and let it get into your heart. And then come in on Monday night with questions, and I'll tell you about the healing guide that has meditations and affirmations and visualizations and celebrations and all those things on Monday night. And ladies, if you've stayed to the end, you can get your free gifts at intentionallyfabulous.com/webinar gifts. And we are going to send you the recording of this. Give us about a day to download and get this out to you.